Hello, I'm Kendra, and welcome to Hooked by Happenstance Makes Monday, episode number 27, Hoopla. It has been 2 weeks since I have spoken to you, even though I am wearing the same sweater I was last time. I have not worn it in the interim, though, I don't think. But I did not realize till I was just sitting down to do this that, yeah, I'm wearing the same thing. But I do have a different outfit on. I'm just wearing the same sweater. But I did not film last week because earlier in the week we had all been under the weather, and so there had not been a lot of crafting, and then because of that I was just really not in the mood, and I wanted you all to have the best possible Kendra for the podcast. So I took a week off. That's just what I did, and theoretically I have more to show you, though I don't know if that's true or not. But we have experienced a great deal of hoopla around here, which is our word of the day. I'm just going to look at the definition here. We're going to discuss a bit. Hoopla, according to dictionary.com, is a noun, an informal noun at that, meaning bustling excitement or activity, commotion, hullabaloo, to do, or sensational publicity or ballyhoo. Also means speech or writing intended to mislead or to obscure an issue. Meh on number 3. But any word that has further definitions that involve ballyhoo and hullabaloo is a good word, if you ask me. What do you think, Jezebel? Do you agree? Do you like ballyhoo, hullabaloo, hoopla? Are these all positive things in your book? Basically, we have been doing a great deal of holiday activities around here with myself, my hubby, and our 3 kids, just because it's fun. And the lead up to Christmas and just the winter holidays in general is a good excuse to do those things. So we have been making the most of all the hoopla we can, and I will also further explain that word when we take a little field trip here in just a second to look at things that I finished. The first stop in the tour of our holiday hoopla decorations is literally our hoopla, or what I've been calling it, because, well, it's a wreath, which is basically just a hoop, right? So we have been, you can see here, I made a cover. I held Red Heart Soft Metallic in the color white, double with Red Heart Super Saber in the color Grape Fizz, and I used a whole skein of the Grape Fizz and a decent amount of the white, and I just made a cover for a foam, like one of the soft foam wreath forms. So then we made these like paper ornament things, and on the back of them we have been writing the different hoopla or fun things that we've been doing for the holidays and just adding them to it when we remember to do it. So that is our hoopla, and I made a bow out of some ribbon that I had in stash, and I followed a tutorial from May Makes to make that, and it was super easy. And actually I kind of knew how to do it in my head, but I wanted confirmation that I knew how to do it, and I did. And this one is super good because it uses a zip tie to hold everything together, so everything is really, like, tight. Also, I didn't make this from scratch since we last met, but this is a Jingly Bell wreath, which my kids and I also made, and it is a Dollar Tree, like a dollar wreath form, so the harder green, and it's covered in that same Red Heart Soft Metallic in the color white. I had made a cover for this and several other wreath forms I just never gotten around to finishing. So I sewed that on real quick one night, and then we went about finishing the bell wreath. But I guess I can consider that a finished object as well, because it had just been sitting in stash and I finally got around to finishing it. And then here is the third thing on our little tour of decorations. I will turn on the light here in just a second so that I can explain it to you, but isn't it cute? Okay, so up here is a hat that I made for our tree, whose name is Ornay. If you're interested in more information about that, you can check out my daily vlogs where I talked in pretty great detail about this whole thing of turning our tree into a snow person. But I made this hat out of burnout blanket. The variegated color is the color Harvest, and then the other is burnout baby blanket in white. And then I took a strand of 50 on the green string of lights, and I went through and I like poked them out of the hat. And part of the reason on the blinking is just to make sure that they don't overheat. Otherwise, you know, you could just leave them on all the time, but it also just kind of is a fun thing, and the kids like the blinking. I also made our tree a nose, which I crocheted, like I intentionally crocheted this poorly because I wanted its stitches to show from afar. It's like when you're up close, yeah, you can see the yarn sticking out, but I figured out that if I made it to the specifications that I normally make toys, like the tightness that I use, then you lost the stitch definition, because then it like looked like fabric instead of big chunky stitches. So I held Red Heart Super Saver in the color Pumpkin. I held it double, and then I also just made my stitches really big and loose, and it is not well made from a toy maker standpoint, but I think it is perfectly well made from an Elfie standpoint. And then I also made up these little coal eyes. These out of Red Heart with Love, held double also to get a nice texture. So 2 coal eyes, little nose, and a fun hat. Makes for a very happy snow person. And then some stick arms, but obviously I did not make those myself. So there you go. There is our hoopla or wreath, and then also the snow tree hat and eyes and nose. So the other 2 things that I do have fully completed are Star Wars themed. I personally am not a Star Wars fan, but I'm married to one, so I'm like a Star Wars fan-in-law or something. There's got to be some like rule that by marriage I am a Star Wars fan. I don't know. But I do know that my husband really, really enjoys the movies and the books and all things in the universe, as do my kids. So every time that a new Star Wars movie comes out, it is the one and only thing that my husband looks forward to doing by himself, is going to see Star Wars. Like, he already has his ticket ordered because we're that kind of people. So he had requested that I make him a new item. Previous years, I have made him an R2-D2 hat and a scarf with the word Star Wars in it. This time, when we were talking about what I should make him, I said, I don't know what to make you. Do you have ideas? Because the other 2 had been surprises. And this year, I just didn't have the energy for surprises. And he said, I'd like another hat. And I was like, do you want with like a Resistance logo in it, or what are you looking for? And he's like, could you make me a speeder hat like Luke's, like a speeder helmet? And I was like, why, yes. Yes, I can. So, it doesn't have logos on it, but this is a speeder helmet, or kind of like it, if you don't know what it is. When Luke Skywalker wears his, he has like yellow goggles. I asked Steve if he wanted me to make him goggles and a chin strap. He declined. So this is speeder-esque. And there should be like some red Resistance logos right here, which I might add at some point, but my brain has just not been up to playing around with that yet. So this is made out of Bernat blanket, Bernat baby blanket in the color white. And I used, oh goodness, I want to say a K-hook. I made this like yesterday. How do I not remember? Yes, I used a K-hook. And I also used a pattern, technically, called the Aviator Hat. It is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry, though it is simple enough that it probably does not necessitate being paid for. I only have the pattern because I bought it several years ago, like 3 years ago, when I first started crocheting and was not at all confident in my abilities, and I wanted somebody to math for me, and this pattern did the math. When I made some water polo helmets out of the same pattern for some of my nephews for Christmas a few years ago. So anyways, I'm just going to keep wearing this hat while I talk to you because it's only a little bit ridiculous, and it's also a little bit awesome, I think. So I made the basic hat pattern, and then I also made a strip to go down the middle, because if you've seen a speeder helmet, it has like a built-up section. There's a little bit more built up over here, but this is all, just use your imagination, folks. Just use your imagination. So then I also took some Red Heart Super Saver in cherry red and did a surface crochet technique along the edges and the middle. I've used surface crochet a couple of times this week. It just seems to be meeting my needs, and it gave me a kind of three-dimensional shape that I was looking for. And then I added a little bit of gold Red Heart Super Saver to the front and sewed this strip on. So there's just a little bit of red on the inside, but I mean, that'll be against his head. No one will ever see it. And he is super, super excited about this. He asked me today, I had showed it to him and he was showing the kids, and then he said, you know, is it done? I said, I need it for the podcast, so you cannot have it yet. So, because otherwise he would have worn it to work tonight. So yes, that is the first thing that is off my hook. The next thing off my hook is also Star Wars related, and eventually my kids will probably go and see the movie with my husband. I don't know, but they definitely want some Star Wars apparel like Dad has, and so I came up with this. This is a scarf which looks like a lightsaber, and it is a keyhole scarf, so it will go on like this, and boop, the hole's right here. It'll pull through, and that way they can make sure they can keep it on, and it should make like a little zhoo, zhoo, zhoo noise when they put it on, because that's the sound that lightsabers make, but it probably won't, because, you know, it's yarn. But they do not know these are coming, but they will be getting them this week. And I have completed this green one. I made it last night, and I sent my husband a text message. Him and I have been talking about the idea of doing this, and he liked the idea, but I sent him a picture, and he was like, that is awesome. Great job! Which I figured was high praise. So I really like it, and I sized it to a previous scarf I'd made my daughter, which is like the perfect size for her, and also fits my son's, so it is the right length, which is nice that I had something to work off of that I found like the perfect measurements for them. So this one is done. It is in green, and I guess that we will just move along to what is on my hook, because I have 3 kids, which means I need 3 lightsaber scarves. So the next one is ultimately going to be made out of turquoise, which will be like the blue lightsaber. And then many of you will realize that those are the main 2 colors of, I guess, Jedi lightsabers. I guess if my kids were Siths, I could make them red ones. But Steve and I discussed this and decided that we would skip the Sith lightsabers for the kids. And so the other one I'm making is going to be made out of lemon yellow, which is this light yellow, which, again, for those of you that don't care, you don't care. But those of you that do care, I guess the other go-to color probably would have been purple, which would have been like Mace Windu's lightsaber, I guess. But that was kind of what we were going to do. But my daughter really, really, really is into Ahsoka on Rebels. So her one of the colors of lightsaber she has over time is a light yellow. So that is what I decided to go with. And that, my friends, was an idea I came up with on my own, and Steve approved. So he is very, very proud that he is rubbing off on me, or something. I think it's heavy on the or something. Okay, so lightsaber scarves. Those are all of the things that are Star Wars-y going on in my universe right now. But there could be more in the future. The next thing that I have been working on that is kind of in that vein is a commission. I have a custom order from a local person who has bought things from me the last, I think, 3 years for her niece for Christmas. Well, I guess one of them was during the summer. It wasn't for Christmas. But the first thing she bought was she had me make a custom turtle. And I asked the girl all about, because it was to replicate a real turtle. So the girl explained to me all about how this turtle like looks in great detail. And I made her a turtle, and it turned out really good. And I was really happy with it, and so was she. And I forget, I feel like I made her something in the interim. And then last year I made up a brick for Minecraft out of Lion Brand homespun in brown and green. I made like a square pillow, and I went online and found the 8-bit graphics to actually get the right like how the block would be as far as the color progression, because it's not like a straight green line, it's got like a boop 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 boop. So I made a pillow out of that. And this year apparently the girl is obsessed with pugs. So I am making a pug. Here are the pieces I've made so far. This is Red Hot. Apparently I am done knowing how to speak. I apologize. Just you are forewarned for the rest of the time. I might not word properly. So this is Red Heart Super Saver in the color buff. And it will be the body. And then I'm using a, I want to say, big twist from Joanna, like a charcoal. I didn't want to do just like a full-on black for the muzzle, so I went and looked at everything they had at Joann's and found the most black but not black color I could find, and it was a charcoal color. So that's going to be for the muzzle. And I am making this using a tutorial on YouTube. So I am making the pattern following a YouTube tutorial called Crochet Adorable Pug Amigurumi Dog Part 1 of 2 by Helen May, all one word, crochet is the name of the channel. Helen May, one word, crochet. And it will make it says 12 to 14 inch pug. I guess in the video she shows the pug wearing like dog clothes and a collar that she bought at the pet store. I don't know what it's going to turn out like. And I don't ordinarily, like, I read patterns and or I make up patterns. I don't really make things by watching videos, usually because the pace that they move at does not meet my needs. Or I'm busy watching other things, frankly. So this is just kind of a new and interesting experience for me. And I've gotten through those parts and I need to get back at it. Probably tomorrow night I will do some more. So we'll see. The pug needs to be done. I think I promised to mail it out on the 16th. It certainly needs to be done by the 19th because that's the last shipping day. And she's basically local, but just a little outside. So it's not like it has to ship very far, but she still would like it in time for Christmas. Okay, the next things that I worked on. I mentioned that we were all a little under the weather after Thanksgiving. And we had a town event and my kids got sick the day of the event. And then as the days progressed, my husband got sick and then I got sick. And then now we're all better. So while I was feeling under the weather, there was a day and a half where I did not crochet at all, which is always my indicator of just how terrible I feel. Because usually if I'm just kind of like, and I just want to sit in one spot, then crochet is an awesome way to handle that problem. But if I feel really, really sick, I can't even bring myself to do that. And one day I felt that way. But the first day, the day before that, I had like an inability to move. But my hands still worked. So I worked on my Square Deal sweater, which is a free pattern from redheart.com. And I am making it out of Bernat Mosaic in the colorway Optimistic. I have now finished the front of the sweater, which is going to end up, I think, more tunic-like. I'm not using the yarn that is recommended. I'm actually not even using the hook size that is recommended. I'm using the hook size that I most enjoyed with this particular yarn. But I think I'm going to enjoy it anyways. It'll be like a nice tunic to wear with leggings and stuff. So, this is the front. And here somewhere is the beginning of the back. So, basically the back is just going to start by replicating the front. And I think it might also finish that way. But most of it is going to just be just like the front piece was. So, working on this, I haven't really given it any love in this last week, but I did a lot of work on it the week before when I did not speak to you. So that is my Square Deal sweater. So last Tuesday, on our way to the library, I didn't have like a good small project to take with me, I don't think. Yeah, like everything I was working on was sweaters. So I decided I wanted to start a new shawl. So I could use my new small size bag. And so I grabbed this skein of mill end yarn. I don't know what it is. I got it from Joann's a while ago. This, and I threw an H hook in here, which the pattern I'm using calls for an F, but the H gives me a much better gauge. And I realized that when I work with fingering weight yarn, part of the things that I've had issues with is even if I'm meeting the gauge that the pattern's written for, I don't like the fabric that it creates with the yarns that I'm using when I use that size hook. That I really need to use a bigger hook, and then I like the gauge better. It just matches my like my tension better. So I am making the Willa Shawl, I think that's how you pronounce it, by Serzium Crochet. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I tried to figure out what this name means. I believe that the word U-W-I-L-A means owl in German or something like that. That was the best I could find. But this is as far as I am in the shawl, and I'm really enjoying it. It is just, it was a fun pattern so far. And after a while, there is a segment of the shawl that has owls in it. like an owl design, and that was kind of what drew me to it. But I didn't know how much I was going to enjoy the way that the pattern worked up. It's just a very, very mindless, but still with a pattern, like meditative. It's a meditative pattern. So I've been working on this a little. It's just going to kind of be a project I have hanging around when I need something like small to throw in my purse. Kind of when I'm going places. Pattern for right now. And then eventually at some point it will get moved up to more important status, but now is not that time. Then the other thing that is on my hook that I have spent a lot of time on today and the last couple of days, I did another Let Peach Let Pick, which went up on the channel a couple days ago, and she picked a drawer that strangely only had yarns that I have plans for making things for me out of. So I couldn't even choose to make a project for somebody else because there were no other people options. So it did have the yarn in it though that I had frogged in a Freaker Frog a while ago with the intention of making another Lodge sweater. The Lodge sweater is a paid for pattern available through Annie's Crochet, and I made it out of Deborah Norville Everyday Soft Worsted in the colorway Parfait, which is like black and pink, and you'll see me wear it from time to time. The size I made it though was much smaller than, or turned out with a much smaller gauge than pictured in the pattern. I do think that the pattern is a little bit deceiving, but I wanted one that was looser and in a different singular color, because with the Parfait color it kind of striped, and so I had to do this whole thing of blending different balls to not get weird pooling and striping, and it just was unpleasant. Though I found that actually it was kind of pleasant because this pattern is just kind of mind-numbing and not necessarily in the good way, but when I had to keep doing all this yarn management, it kept me more interested. But now I'm just trying to have to push myself to be interested for the sake of being interested. So here is the left front panel that I have completed. I am using a jumbo skein of Karen in the colorway Dalmatian, which I only think is funny because this is only black and gray, and Dalmatians, aren't they white and black? I'm fairly certain every Dalmatian I've ever met did not look like this, but whatever. I have referenced the movie and it didn't look like this either. So this is the left front, and then I am this far in the back. So I think that everything is going to fit much better and bigger than the other one that I made. And actually it's just going to fit different, because not that I don't like the other one, I just intended to make it looser than it turned out. So I just want this one to be big and loose. And I have a decent amount of this yarn because I bought it to make an Afghan. So if it can be an Afghan, like a full-size Afghan, it should be able to cover my person. That's kind of how I figure it. So I've been working on this. Then I have a few strung out projects. I worked some on my scrap stash blanket when I was working on the Square Deal sweater last week. So as far as my scrap stash blanket is concerned, I'm fairly certain that I showed you up to here last time, and I completed this section here. So I'm still a little short of making it a complete strip. Let's see. Just measure it against the other one. Yeah, I'm like this short of it being done. And then I will have another strip complete. And I have 9 of them done, so this will be strip number 10, and I need 16. So that is good. I also have this little bit in here. I'm very confused what I did. This is what happens when you are working on things because you don't feel good. If your brain is not functioning properly for life, it probably is not functioning right to make any sense in the future of your crochet projects. But it's the right size. I don't know why there's 2 strips. I will have to look at that and see what I was thinking. But like I said, I've made progress on this blanket, so yay me. Also, as far as things that are strung out, you will have noticed that I like spammed the channel with We Hook Wednesday pouches, but all of the pouches are out, and there will be a video forthcoming to show how they do fit together to make the full calendar that is coming up. I also released yesterday a video about another section of my yarn tail shawl for turtles all the way down. So on the screen next to me, there will be a link to that if you are interested in it, and down below is a link to my Etsy shop if you would like to help support me so I keep making fun, free, crafty content for all of you. And also on the screen next to me, there is a link to my daily vlog channel if that's something you're interested in. I have found out that people didn't know it's a thing that I do. It's a thing that I do. It's a thing you can click on over in this vicinity if it's a thing that you are interested in. And I will see you all next time. Bye!